A man had just finished his shower, wrapped only a bath towel around his lower body, his muscular upper body fully exposed. Leaning casually against the doorframe, a confident yet teasing look on his face, he asked the man opposite him, "This body good enough for you?" "Need your body." Upon hearing the other man's words, his cheeks flushed red in an instant, his eyes grew hazy and his voice trembled with fluster. Astonishment and a hint of ambiguity mingled on his face, and the tension between them spiked to a fever pitch in that charged moment. The other man wore a loose bathrobe, its collar gaped open, revealing his chiseled pectoral muscles beneath. His eyes were cast down, his tone laced with overwhelming possessiveness and provocation, his posture exuding an intense sense of dominance. He spoke in a low voice, "Let me teach you what a real feeling is." "Whoa. I didn't mean I wanted to feel that real." His heart skipped a beat, he gasped sharply, his mind flooded with panic, and his body reacted with an intense physical arousal. In the next second, their bodies pressed close together, the intimate contact throwing him completely off balance. "What is this? Shit, why is it so hard? And so warm?" These blunt words laid bare his shock and helplessness in that intimate moment. His cheeks burned bright red, fine beads of sweat dotted his forehead, his breathing grew ragged and confusion and panic clouded his eyes. He was experiencing an unprecedented physical and psychological upheaval. It was the first time he had ever felt such a powerful primal urge in his body, and the unfamiliar sensation left him utterly flustered. Could he still guard his chastity? The story's protagonist is He Yanliang, a male comic artist determined to turn his life around by drawing adult comics. To achieve his goal of making a living through art, he took a desperate gamble and joined an eccentric cult-like art collective with one ironclad rule. All romantic and physical intimacy is strictly forbidden star. His mentor Tao's words became his first creed upon entering the collective. Don't indulge your desires in the real world, pour all your passion onto the page. These words also planted the seeds for the intense sexual tension that would unfold later, a stark contrast to the collective's ascetic rules. A female mentor in the collective even told him that his weapon had been sealed by a coconut. He Yanliang's eyes were always filled with a burning desire for success, and his motives were simple and unwavering. He would draw anything if it meant making a living and selling his comics like hotcakes. So he abandoned all the cliched tales of friendship, hard work and victory that he once drew, and threw himself headlong into creating adult comics. When his creative fervor reached its peak, he couldn't help crying out, "This feeling is so amazing, I'm going crazy." One can vividly feel the unbridled desire he let loose in his creation, and the stark contradiction between his apparent renunciation of carnal desire and his desperate struggle to protect his chastity. This contradiction brings his character to life in an instant. All his self-restraint was merely a means to an end, a shortcut to making his comics a hit. The turning point of the plot lies in a powerful split screen in the illustrations, with 2 lines of dialogue that crackle with tension. "What have you done to my body? Everything about you is already in my hands." The words are charged with hostility, passion and possessiveness intertwined, foreshadowing the dynamic that would define the protagonist's relationship. Just as He Yanliang was reveling in the thrill of his creative success and having his dreams come true, an unexpected blind date prank threw him into Jing Yuan's world. In the illustration, Jing Yuan appears before Yanliang with his works in hand, and with the words, "I have something to show you. I brought my work." The 2 men with vastly different creative philosophies meet for the first time. Naturally, the 2 clash from the start, misunderstanding piling upon misunderstanding. Their interactions are fraught with an awkwardness that defies words, yet beneath that awkwardness simmers a raging undercurrent of sexual tension. Forbidden from any physical or romantic connection in the real world, they channel their creative conflicts into emotional friction, turning everything into utter chaos. Then Jing Yuan drops a bombshell, "Do you want to be my friend with benefits?" This single question shatters all remaining self-restraint, and thus begins an obsessive creative bond, one born in the chaste confines of the art collective, fueled by unbridled desire. What follows is a night of intense creative collaboration between the 2, details omitted. The new chapter opens with a soul-crushing question that cuts to the core. What is the meaning of creation? The answer is brutally honest, unflinchingly down to earth. It's for buying a car, a house and of course, for great love. The plot then immediately escalates with a high-octane, iconic scene. He Yanliang screams in panic, "What the hell happened last night?" He paces around in a frenzy, like someone who's lost their phone at a party, yelling that his weapon is gone. This scene is pure dramatic gold, oozing with suspense and hooking the reader in an instant. He yanks back the covers, his expression shifting from tension to utter bewilderment as he struggles to confirm if the absurd events of the night before were real. One can't help but exclaim, "Is this something I can see without hitting the like button?" At this moment he only feels a dull soreness in his hips, a weariness from overexertion. The camera then cuts to the relatable, gut-wrenching daily struggle of being a creator, a moment that tugs at the heartstrings. Lying in bed, He Yanliang is filled with resentment at his constant focus on vulgar pornographic content. Drawing butts, for instance. He longs to return to a more soulful form of artistic expression. His female mentor's retort is sharp, unforgiving and cutting to the bone. "If you don't draw something sexy, who the hell is going to read your boring piece of crap comic?" It's unfiltered, hard-hitting advice, pure and simple and absolutely spot on. She delivers the final blow with, "Don't ask me, figure it out yourself." That classic mentor-style brush-off strikes a chord with every worker and creator out there, who hasn't been on the receiving end of that line. Next, the central character Tao makes her entrance, a consummate guru of comic creation who proclaims herself a comic writing advisor. For her, crafting compelling stories is more than just a job, it's a lifelong passion etched into her very being. But the next second she receives a phone call setting her up on a blind date. Glancing at the blind date's information relayed over the phone, she turns it down flat. I'm on deadline. Gotta get my script to the publisher. No time. After hanging up, she heads to the library to look for her favorite novels. It is there that she encounters the protagonist He Yanliang. He looks like a red-haired puppy whimpering in the rain, soaked to the bone, tears streaming down his face, sniffling and snot-nosed, his emotions completely unraveled. He mutters over and over, I really can't draw butts. She stares at him in confusion and asks how he knew where to find her. He Yanliang replies, we shared our locations, remember? Staring at her phone, she scowls, a look of regret on her face. I really regret adding you now. In the pouring rain, He Yanliang's tears mix with the raindrops as he breaks down screaming. Maybe I'm just not cut out to be a comic artist. Self-doubt and despair are written all over his face. He was once a creator with a dream of drawing shonen manga, but he repeatedly hit a wall in the mainstream market, his ideals crushed time and again by harsh reality. Lost and adrift, he fell under the control of this mentor, abandoning his shonen manga dream to pander to the vulgar market, ultimately leading to his breakdown in the rain. Now he's drawing smut and bought a car with it. He seems to have achieved worldly success, yet he has long since lost his creative original aspiration, and peace of mind is forever out of his reach. To Tao, his dependence and pleas for help are nothing but a nuisance and a burden. She feels no empathy for his pain whatsoever. She had always positioned herself as his mentor, manipulating his creative choices, but now she tears off the pretense completely, making it clear that she will not coddle his vulnerability and desperation like a mother would. Their relationship is irrevocably broken. It is in this moment of utter despair that He Yanliang abandons his creative original aspiration entirely, surrendering completely to reality and desire. This is also the first time that Tao, the mentor, shows powerlessness in this manipulative relationship after He Yanliang's total surrender. She won the game of control, yet lost her grip on her creation, left with nothing but a helpless sigh. What am I going to do with you? In the end, Tao decides to introduce He Yanliang to a creator who is amazing at drawing butts, sending him to learn from the master. Upon hearing the news, He Yanliang's eyes brim with tears as he clutches a piece of paper and shouts in excitement. Thanks Queen Tao. Meanwhile, Tao stands in the rain holding an umbrella, a playful smile tugging at the corner of her mouth, and thinks to herself, hope your blind butt date goes well. This black-haired man is the butt-drawing master Tao spoke of. The moment he meets He Yanliang, he directly asks him what he thinks of the size of his weapon. The protagonist is jolted out of his reverie by the man's movement, his eyes unconsciously drifting to the man's muscles as he stares intently, sizing him up. Then the protagonist drops a bombshell of his own. My weapon is pretty big too, wanna see? It's such an outrageous line, it leaves one dumbfounded. The man stares at him in stunned disbelief and wariness, caught off guard by the sudden remark, his mind racing. Is he challenging me? Is this a power play? The moment the vulgar words leave his mouth, He Yanliang snaps back to his senses, screaming in utter panic inside. What am I saying? He looks at the man's cold eyes and angry expression, his face draining of color and terror, his inner monologue continuing in a frenzy. Did I piss him off? In the next second, overcome with panic, he moves in close to apologize, his body pressing against the man's. But the man in his open white bathrobe speaks in a cold, distant tone, uttering the pivotal line. Sorry, but I don't think I'm getting anything from you. He Yanliang stares in stunned silence, cold sweat dripping down his back, his mind spinning with wild guesses. Wait. He's mad because I didn't teach him the butt lesson yet? Desperate to keep the man from leaving, He Yanliang does something bold and reckless. The man turns his head, and is met with a sight so startling it makes his nose bleed instantly. Finally, the man lifts He Yanliang's chin with a frivolous flick of his finger, his eyes glinting with amusement and scrutiny as he speaks slowly, his voice laced with curiosity. Now what's your deal?